Hi, I'm Christy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to wrap up my reading for the last half of October. So I actually just got home at the beginning of this week from Las Vegas, which I was there for Love in Vegas, which was a book signing. Got to see bookish friends, see favorite authors, meet favorite authors for the first time. Definitely didn't want to leave. It was just so much fun there. But yeah, it's now officially November 1st, so it is the perfect time to wrap up the last half of October for my reading. It's also a little self-promotion moment here. I did end up starting TikTok, which I said I would never join, was never interested. I ended up starting one just last night after some friends in Vegas were talking about it. And so I am going to be posting over there. So definitely go follow me if you are on there as well. I would love to have more people to follow on there and like figure out what I'm doing. So yeah, late to the party as usual, but I am there now. The link is in the description of the video, as well as it's just Christy Reads a Lot, which is my name on Instagram, YouTube, and of course now TikTok. Anyway, so I've just been having fun like making videos all day, and so I've been meaning to do my wrap up because it is November 1st. Let's see, for October I ended up reading 45 books for the month. I definitely front loaded and read most of those books at the beginning of the month. I read 33 books for the first half of the month, and I do have my mid-month wrap up video up for that, so I'll link that in the description of this video as well as up in the cards as well. So if you want to go back and see what I thought about all the books for the first half of the month, you definitely can do that because I'm going to only talk about the, let's see, 12 I have to talk about for the last half of the month. So we are going to jump into the 12 books, but as always, if you ever want to see more of my thoughts or my full reviews on any of the books I talk about, I do review every book I read on Goodreads, and my Goodreads is always linked in the description of all of my videos. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the 12 books. So first up is Brother Song by TJ Klune. This is book 4 in the Green Creek series. I was a co-host for a Green Creek read-along with some friends here, and it was so much fun. Finally got me to read this series. This was the last book of the series. This one I ended up giving it 3 stars to. So books 2 and 3 were definitely my favorite in the series. This book, book 4, I thought the first half of this book was definitely a lot of like inner monologue and thoughts of the character we're following. And the second half felt like kind of like an extended epilogue for everybody, which I mean, I get it's the last book in the series, but I kind of wanted like a little bit more plot, a little bit more happening there. I wasn't as invested in the couple in this one either. I do feel like the hero, the POV that we get of this one, and his brother, like it's called Brother Song, like they actually have a really strong bond, which I like to see, but like the hero with his partner, like I didn't really feel it, so it definitely took me out of it. But that said, I'm glad that I did finally get to this entire series. This read along definitely helped. Like my favorites are book 2 and 3, but the whole thing is just a fun found family, paranormal, wolf shifter, romances. So yeah, I'm glad I finally got to it. All right, then I got to Rushing In by Claire Kingsley. This is book 4 in the Bailey Brothers series, and this one I ended up giving 4/4.5 stars to. So this whole series is a small town series, and in this one we have a fun like friends to lovers moment. The story starts, the heroine has just been having the worst 6 months of her life. So her boyfriend ended up cheating on her. She got dropped by her publisher because she is an author. Her boyfriend was also her agent, and so you know she got dropped by him. She lost her place she was living because it was his apartment, and just like everything's going down the drain. So she ends up moving back to a small town that she spent some time in when she was a little girl with her dad. Her parents are split up, they're divorced. So she ends up going there, and her dad is the fire chief of the town. And so on her first day there, she ends up actually hitting one of his firemen on the street. And it's not her fault, like he walked out in the street, wasn't looking, things like that. And so that ends up being the hero who had just like saved the day during a fire. So yeah, they meet like that. This one I really had a good time with. I really loved the previous book of the series, book 3, which was Unraveling Him. And now this book, book 4, I love this one as well. Basically the heroine in this one, she is a suspense writer, and she has been feeling like lack of inspiration, out of ideas, doesn't know what to write. And so she ends up spending time with the hero, who he is actually on leave because, you know, she hit him and he's injured. So he talks to her dad, which is his boss, the fire chief, and he finds out that the heroine's kind of like shy and reserved and more introverted, and her dad's a little worried that she's not going to meet new people in the town. So the hero takes it upon himself to kind of go and become friends with her and spend time with her since he has all this free time now. So they end up spending time together, and she realizes when he's around, she's feeling super inspired to write and create her story. And so she asks him if they can hang out like every day so that she could just get a little bit of writing in. Like he can sit there, he can read, he could do whatever. Like she just feels inspired when he's around. And the hero in this one, like, stop. He was so cute. He ends up rescuing a kitten, calling himself a cat mom, and like taking care of his little baby that he calls the kitten. It's so cute. He also ends up creating this like murder cabin weekend for the heroine to kind of like help her, inspire her, since she is that suspense writer. It was just so cute, so fun. I love this one. All right, so then I ended up jumping into an arc of Watch Your Mouth by Candy Steiner. This is the second book in her Kings of Ice series, which is a hockey romance series. This one, I had an arc of it, and I ended up giving it 3.5/4 stars. This one is out now, though. So this one has a lot going on down in it. Obviously, the hero is a hockey player. It has forced proximity. We have opposites attract. We have age gap. The hero is about 9-10 years older than the heroine. She is his teammate's little sister. We have a road trip moment, just like all the things happening. So I really loved the first book of the series, so I was really looking forward to this one, and sadly, it just didn't do it for me. Road trip in here just really didn't work for me and kind of felt just like dragged out, and I wanted something more, something interesting to happen. It's definitely steamy, tons of steamy times on the road, on their trips together. So that was fun. I just loved the first book in the series so much and wanted a little bit more from this couple. I also think I just have a hard time with road trips in contemporary romances. We were actually talking about this at Vegas and how historicals, like the road trips and that forced proximity together, whether in a carriage or whatever the case, like those work so well. And like contemporaries, I just have a harder time with them. So yeah, this one was kind of a miss for me, but I am excited for book 3, which is going to be Grumpy Sunshine, single dad, hockey hero, and a nanny romance. Cannot wait. Next up, I had an arc of The Worst Kept Secret by QB Tyler. This one actually comes out on November 2nd. So by the time this video is up, that book will be out. So definitely check it out. This one is best friend's dad, age gap, forbidden, and their neighbors as well. And it was just like a fun time. I gave this one 4 stars. I feel like What Was Meant to Be, which is my favorite QB Tyler book, is just like top tier favorite for me. So I kind of compare everything else to that since then, which you shouldn't do that, but like it's happening. So it is what it is. I feel like with QB books, you definitely know what you're getting into when you jump into them. So this one definitely delivered on the steam and all of those like forbidden times. Like I mentioned, they are neighbors. The heroine has kind of always known the hero because he is the dad of her best friend, his son. And so it kind of like was described as like kind of a love triangle, which it's not at all. The hero's son did have feelings for the heroine in the past, but they're kind of past that and everything else. So yeah, I just kind of wanted a little bit more from this one. Tons of steam, like I said. I kind of really loved the hero's daughter has a age gap relationship as well. That was super fun. So yeah, 4 stars for that one. Next up, I had an audio arc of Mine to Honor by Natasha Madison. This is book 7 in her Southern Weddings series. This one, it comes out on November 3rd, so it will be out by the time this video is up. And this one I ended up giving 3.5/4 stars. This series you could definitely read out of order. They kind of follow the same like friend group, in which are spin-offs from other characters in her other series. So yeah, this one I've read the last, I think 3 or 4 now, and this one was okay. It's not my favorite, but it wasn't like terrible either. So while these are all small town, this one was described as best friends and lovers, fake marriage, forced proximity, because of course they're going to be living together during this fake marriage. So I decided to jump into it. This one also has no third act breakup, and I didn't realize before going into this one, but the heroine ends up becoming the guardian, kind of like a single mom to her baby niece when something happens to her sister. So yeah, kind of felt a little bit like Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young, of like the heroine becoming like the guardian of her sibling's child. So kind of had that vibe, and I didn't expect that going in. So that definitely kind of affected my rating of it. This one was really sweet. There was some cute moments in here. I kind of just wanted more of the like best friends to lovers fake marriage situation, and not like this faked marriage of convenience for her to gain custody of her niece. I kind of just wasn't in the mood for that read when I went into it, not knowing that was what it was about. So yeah, the audio narrators are good. I love the covers for this series, and that is what this one is about. Next, I jumped into Chasing Her Fire by Claire Kingsley. This is book 5 in the Bailey Brothers series, and this one I ended up giving 3 stars to. This one, after coming off of book 3 and 4, which I loved so much, this one was just kind of okay for me. This one, again, they're small town. This one is a surprise pregnancy after a one-night stand hookup, with kind of the hero and the heroine being enemies before that. I've said in the past that surprise pregnancies work for me when they're the product of a one-night stand. I really enjoy those. So this one was just kind of okay. Like, I've read better ones for this trope than this. So yeah, 3 stars for this one. Basically, the heroine here is one of the Bailey brothers. He is a firefighter in this small town, and the heroine and him end up hooking up at the beginning of the story. Like, they've already hooked up, and so she ends up becoming pregnant at the very beginning of the story, and they've always like hated one another. Like, he hates her, but also like he's pulled to her, and so they end up having to make it work for their baby to be. So yeah, we get lots of forced proximity in here because he does move in with her to try to make it work and make it work for the baby as they prep for the baby. So there is all of that. This one just felt a little bit too long for me. I have been doing this series on audio though, so it was easy to get through at the same time. So yeah, it was okay, 3 stars. Next, I had an audio ALC of Unconditional by QB Tyler. This was actually the last QB Tyler book I had to read to be caught up on her backlist, and so I was so excited to get the audio of this one, and the audio definitely made this read. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. So this one is age gap, forbidden romance between the heroine and her guardian. So basically in this one, the hero ends up rescuing the heroine when she is a child. Her parents die in a murder-suicide situation. The hero is a cop, so he rescues her and becomes her guardian. And we cut to years later. She is a senior in high school, and they end up starting to realize they have feelings for one another, and definitely give in to them as well. This one brought the tension and the angst that I expect and want from QB Tyler reads. Like I said, if you are not a fan of taboo and forbidden, I mean, I don't know why you'd pick up her books, but if you do enjoy those, you know what you're getting into with her. Like, this one definitely delivered. This one's just super steamy. I love the overprotectiveness vibes from the hero. This couple just felt like one of those couples where, regardless of the situation, like they would have found one another in life. Like, they definitely felt like a bonded soulmate type level of relationship. So I loved that. The audiobook narrators were amazing for this one, and I just had a great time. I gave it 4 stars. Next, on my way to Vegas, I had time for an audio, so I picked up Right Guy, Wrong Word by Julie E. Ann. I had some time for a quick audiobook, and I saw this one was like 5 or 6 hours, so I hopped into it, and this one sadly did not work for me. I ended up giving it 2 stars. This one was described as more of a rom-com from Julie Ann, which I decided to check it out. I was intrigued. I've liked her more emotional, angsty ones in the past, but I decided to give this one a go because, like I said, it kind of fit the time that I had available that day to fit in an audio, so I did that. Both the hero and the heroine are bookish, which I usually love. Basically, in this one, the heroine has a book club, and at the beginning of the story, she ends up meeting the hero, who is new to the building. She ends up inviting him to join her book club. He says yes, and then when he gets there, he is like the only person in the book club who isn't like raving and loving the book. Like, he has some critical thoughts on it, and she gets like super offended because she is a major fan of the book, cannot believe somebody would trash it like that, or like have critical reviews, I should say. And she just like can't take it and decides to harp on it from there on out. This was super fast paced, felt insta-lovey. Like, some of the moments in the dialogue were kind of cringe to me. I also just wasn't a fan of the heroine at all, ever. Like, she just hung on to the fact that he did like this book, and it's like, who acts like that? I don't know. It just wasn't for me. I also found out after the fact that this was a novella before, and then the author kind of reworked it and added things and made it like a fuller length book, which it definitely felt like that when you were reading it. Like, you could tell it was just kind of disjointed, and some things didn't flow very well, and it felt very much like this used to be a novella and now it's not. So yeah, 2 stars for that one. So then on my way down to Vegas at the airport, I got an arc of Ice Bet by S.J. Silvis. So I jumped into this one. This is a follow-up to the author's Weak Side, which was a hockey romance I loved earlier this year. So I was excited to get into this one. This one I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. So this one is a sports hockey romance where the heroine is the hero's coach's daughter. She also becomes his rival's newest target when they decide to have this ice bet on her, which is like who can get her into their bed the soonest. So we have that going on. The heroine was a former figure skater, and she's trying to get back into that. And her and the hero have some forced proximity as well because she ends up moving into the apartment across from him. So yeah, it kind of goes from there. This one I just had a hard time with. Like, I really, really loved Weak Side, so I had a harder time with this one. I will say, if you're not a fan of a hero being with other women on page and all of that before he is with the heroine, I should say, like, there's no cheating. It's before he's with the heroine. Like, this author's books are probably not for you because both books in this series have that. It doesn't bother me, but I just wanted to point that out for others. There's also some content warning in here, or I feel like there should be content warning for an eating disorder that the heroine had in the past. That is discussed. There's also discussion of, I believe, the hero's ex-girlfriend had that as well going on. So yeah, the couple and the story didn't really work super well for me in this one. Like I said, I loved the first book in the series, but I am excited to check out the next one in the series from the author. Oh, and this one is out on November 9th. In Vegas, I didn't do any reading at all, but on the plane ride home, I ended up picking up The Secrets of a Moonlit Night by Elisa Braden. This is a new novella that she had that came out, or it was like published in an anthology last year, and now it is its own little novella on KU. So I grabbed this one and I ended up giving it 3 stars. So I felt like this was the perfect time to pick this one up because it has kind of like a paranormal vibe to it with a matchmaking ghost. And so yeah, I was expecting a lot and kind of was a little bit disappointed. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. This author's novellas in particular haven't really worked for me super well, but I keep trying because I love her full-length books so much. Basically, in this one, this is a historical romance novella, and the heroine is a governess of 3 children, and some like mystery man ends up buying a property nearby next door, and so the children that she watches are always going over there. So she ends up going over there too to get them back, and runs into the hero a few times, and it kind of goes from there. It was a quick read, a little too insta-lovey for me. I wanted a bit more between the hero and the heroine, but for what it was fine. It was okay. If you enjoyed like a grumpy, scarred hero and a governess heroine who lives next door, I guess pick this one up. I did think it would have more of a paranormal vibe to it with the like kind of ghost situation happening, but it didn't really go anywhere. So yeah, it was just okay for me, 3 stars. So then I jumped into Hollow by Sam Nascosta, and this one I ended up giving it 3 stars too. So basically this is a Sleepy Hollow inspired, or there's actually 2 novellas in this little novella bind up of 2 different Sleepy Hollow novellas. The first one is MMM, and then the second one is FM. And yeah, the first one was so good, so steamy. It did not last long enough. And then the second one was just kind of a miss for me. So yeah, I mean, I've heard kind of everybody say that, but I wanted to give them a chance anyways. The cover is stunning. Definitely recommend the first one. Like, I feel like I want more from that. Hopefully she does more with the characters in this one in the future. I would totally read it. And then lastly, I had an arc of Hoarded by the Dragon by Lillian Lark. This is her newest monster romance, which I am obsessed with her monster romances so much. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Basically in this one, this is a surprise pregnancy, a monster romance, and it was just like a fun time, and I kind of went in not expecting too much and absolutely loved it. So in here, the heroine is a witch and she was raised by humans, and then the hero is a dragon, kind of like a shifter though, because sometimes he's like human form and he has like this dragon alter ego kind of. And yeah, they end up hooking up at the beginning of the story and she ends up getting pregnant, which kind of gets complicated because the hero tells her like dragons are not supposed to be able to get people pregnant unless they're with their mate, and that he's already had a mate in the past and like it is definitely not her. So yeah, it gets complicated, but they end up having to move in together, or she moves in with him for like the sake of her baby and like other reasons. And he gets like just super protective. They kind of become friends. And I just love this one. It had like a lot more tension and angst than I was expecting because of like his past and not thinking he'd be able to bond to anybody else. And I was just here for it and honestly had a great time with it. Like I actually might bump it up to 4.5 stars because I enjoyed it that much. This one comes out, I think, on November 3rd as well. So it will be out by the time this is up, and I definitely recommend it. All right, so those are the 12 books I ended up reading for the last half of October. Definitely had some fun ones in there. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of the books that I just talked about or what some of your favorite reads for October. I would love to hear. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you in my next one.